So I'd like to say a big thank you to Anthea from County Bridge Club in Leicester, who is going to present on this topic today. It's quite a specialised topic, which I think is why we've got fewer people than some of the other club seminars, but very, very useful, and not a topic that I am an expert in. So I'm very grateful to Anthea for sharing her expertise in this area. So Anthea is going to make a presentation, and then hopefully she'll be willing to take some questions after that. Brilliant. So let me just see if I can share this slides. That'll be the first step.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine with me.
good. That's nice to hear. First of all, a couple of words of introduction. I've only got 7 slides to present, so there'll be plenty of time for questions afterwards. I am a chartered accountant and for many years have worked as a finance director in UK and overseas companies. So in the latter part of my career, I was buying and selling companies around Europe and Scandinavia, and set up a business in Ireland, which was fascinating. Irish are something a little bit different. So when I joined County Bridge Club, they were in a small residential building with 2 flats above, with limited playing space and no car parking facilities, in a residential area where the city council were moving to residential parking spaces. So our major issue here was space and car parking. So for certainly the 5 years before I joined and the 8 years since I've been there on the committee, they've been looking for new premises. And part of that process got us looking at old supermarkets, old swimming baths, lots and lots of old places. So the driver was find new premises. And that's where I stepped in and said, if you're going to do this, which we were driven to, we have to look at a more efficient legal structure for the company, for the club, which maximizes our tax situation and fits what we were going to do, i.e. sell one building and buy another. So this is our learning curve from that exercise. So I'll go through the advantages and disadvantages, what are the financial benefits, but please be aware there is an admin cost, and I'll summarize at the end. Next slide, please. Right, so what is a charitable status, or otherwise known as a CIO, Charitable Incorporated Organisation? That's its legal definition. It is a separate legal entity to the people who are members of the club. So it's like a company, it has a legal status. It's an online application to the Charity Commission through u.gov website. It is long, it is pages long, 30 odd pages. But there is a standard constitution that has already been approved by the Charity Commission, designed by the EBU. If you adopt that constitution, and it's not perfect, but it's already got pre-approval, so your status gets approved much more quickly. HMRC, which is the other big organisation that has to approve the new organisation, has also pre-approved this constitution. So that will okay the status. I think we got ours within 10 days. And you have to inform banks, insurers, the local council, those sorts of people, that you have changed status from whatever you were. We were in the past seen as an unincorporated members club. Now, in order to be a charity, you need at least 5 trustees willing to stand. 3 of those have to be named officers. So a chairman, a treasurer, and a secretary. And you need minimum of 5, I think it's maximum of 10. And we are all classed as amateur sports clubs. in the nomenclature that this whole group of companies, organisations use. So that's what it is. This is what you are morphing into if you choose to go this route. Next slide, please. Right, what's the advantages? The big one is we don't pay tax. That's any capital gains. So when we sold a building for 350,000, we missed paying capital gains tax. No corporation tax. We used to pay 2,000 a year. No stamp duty on the purchase of the new property. By law, council tax, if you pay it, has to be reduced by 80% for a charity. You just apply to the council, tell them you're a charity with all of your charity registration number, etc. They give it to you automatically. There is an organisation called Charitable. If you go through their application process, they pre-approve you as a recognised charity in the UK, and you will get discounts on things like software. So Office, Zoom, Windows, those sort of things. I have it on my accounting software as well. So there are advantages, and there's a whole long list of things that you can get discounts on through this process. The separate legal entity improves your liability protection for trustees. You can take insurance out and say that, you know, as long as you did things the right way, you're fine. Or the fact it is a separate entity. Anybody who wants to sue, they have to sue the company, not the people who run the club, which is always interesting. You can gift aid any membership fees from members. So you get 25 pence for every £1 donated to the club. So that could be a donation. So we did a donation drive for Ukraine, and I've claimed that money back and sent that claim back on to the DEC, who was doing all the organisation for donations for Ukraine, because we as the charity have to claim it. They can't, because we were a company donating to them. So if you have members paying £20 and you've got 200 members, that's £4,000 worth of income, and you get an extra 25p a pound out of it. Only if the people you are claiming from are UK taxpayers, and only if you do a lot of paperwork, some of which is fiddly. You have to know names and addresses, you have to fill in a pre-approved spreadsheet. Again, it's back to the admin piece. But every charity has the option of claiming gift aid. A VAT registration may be beneficial. I'll go into that later. But as a company, you can register for VAT and get money back. And you may get discounts on renting premises. I know of one charity in Leicestershire that is a renter of premises off a parish council, and they have voted that if you are a charity, you get a discount on your rent. So it's a case of checking with whoever you're renting off might give you a benefit. Okay, next slide, please. So what's the disadvantages? It's more work for the accountant. What sort of more work? You have to do an annual return, like a company has to do an annual return and tell people who are the trustees, who's the chairman, the treasurer, the secretary, what you've been doing, whether or not you're meeting your objectives. Year-end accounts have to be either audited by an honorary auditor if you're small enough, or if you're too big, it's a year-end audit with a recognised small firm of accountants. And you have to fill in an annual report, again, explaining who you are, what your charitable objectives are, and what you have done in the year to fulfill those objectives, and what your future plans are. So it's all about explaining to the Charity Commission that you are actually operating legally and fulfilling your objectives. I've said before, you need a minimum of about 6 trustees, of which 3 are officers. The gift aid copy declarations. So I have a file of every person who has signed to say they wish to gift aid their membership in hard copy. So I've got a file yay thick of 180-ish people, because they could come and audit me, and you have to, at the point in time you're claiming gift aid, prove you have had a declaration. Doesn't need to be a signed form, can be an email, can be verbal, but you have to record when it happened. You can do it by text, which we never did because it doesn't work, but for a lot of companies where they are, say, text a donation through your phone too, that's how they record that. If you do VAT registration, you need to register for at least 10 years. So if you're doing quarterly VAT returns, that's 40 VAT returns. So there's a lot more detail in the accountancy recording how much you owe in VAT and how much you're reclaiming in VAT. So there has to be a big driver to be a VAT reclaimer. And you have to keep your company records for at least 6 years. So those are the disadvantages. It is a chunk of work. You have to have a finance group who are willing and happy to do this. But as finance people, if the money that you get back is worth it, they'll say, yeah, we'll do it. So I'm the one who said, yes, we'll do it in our club. Next slide, please. This is not for small clubs. If you're less than 100 members, and that's just a figure I picked out of my head, or you're just renting premises and you don't get a discount because you're a charity, this is probably not for you. The additional work isn't worth what money you'd get back. If you are a club with premises, this is almost certainly worth looking at because you are paying business rates. If you're looking to buy new premises, you must be looking at this because this is where the big money is. And some clubs who can get rent reductions from councils from that charitable status will find it worthwhile because that rentage will be your biggest cost in terms of running weekly bridge sessions. So let's have a look at the case study. And this is where the numbers get to add up. Sorry, the writing's a bit small, but I had to fit it all in. So we bought some new premises in 2019 from a company called Homes England, who sell property that's owned by government or any government arm that is no longer needed. So this was a purpose-built nursery built in 2010 that had been empty for several years, which had a huge car park. 25 car parking spaces with space to extend it to 40 plus, and we could gate it. So this is a secure car park specific for the Bridge Club. So that ticked that we need parking options. It was also probably 3 times the size of where we were before. Before 14 bridge tables, now we can do 25 plus without anybody feeling that they're scrunched in. So Homes England charged us £55,000 on the purchase of the property, which we paid £250,000 for, because they choose to be VAT registered. It's their decision, not ours. So faced with do you want to pay £55,000 worth of VAT, or shall we reclaim it if we get VAT registered? We registered for VAT. So far, with some building work on that, we've saved another £10,000. That's a bit further down. But yeah, our driver for VAT registration was claim the VAT back. Easier to VAT register if you're a company. We saved £15,000 on the stamp duty on the cost of buying the property because as a charity, you don't pay stamp duty. We saved £63,000 capital gains tax on the sale of the old premises, which we sold for £350,000 at auction to a property developer who was going to make it into student accommodation. it was very close to the universities and the city centre. So we thought we did quite well there. Only buy the new premises for 250, sell the old one for 350. Don't pay any tax. Business rates. By law, you get this 80% reduction in business rates. Because the new building we were going into was a commercial premises, it was £12,500 business rates. Take 80% off that, we're down to 2,500, which we could afford. And that is every year. We've just done a recent reduction in rateable value that's taken our bill down from the 12,500 to £630 an annum. So if you are operating in a building which is not commercial, but has been looked at and given a rateable value as if it is commercial, you can appeal to the council. And I used a company called Burden House to do this. They're doing it on behalf of multiple leisure organisations and clubs. They negotiate with the local council to prove that this group of entities don't make money, that if they break even, therefore they should have a lower rateable value. And they have succeeded in doing that for us, and we've got money back. We no longer pay corporation tax. It's an old unincorporated members club with rental income from the two properties above our club, which was on the ground floor. We had to pay corporation tax, about £2,000 a year. Don't pay that anymore. You're just not eligible. And I've just done a gift aid claim of £1,500. So I'm waiting to hear if they're going to pay that one, but that was my first. And we also got substantial COVID grant funding because we owned our own premises, and that was based on our rateable value. If you remember, Leicester City as an entity virtually did not come out of lockdown in the first year. So we got additional funding because we were basically not allowed to open. So the total is a staggering £250,500 to date, and we became a charity in 2018, that the club has either received into the bank account or avoided paying, which would have been a bill, because we went to charitable incorporated organisation, and this was the huge driver. So I was absolutely staggered when I added that up when I did this slide. I knew it was a big number because I did the business plans to show people why we should be doing this. And basically the other accountants in the club went, yeah, carry on, do it. And it worked. And we'll continue working. And in somewhat of, 6 years' time, we will cease being VAT registered. So we'll get rid of that admin. But we would have still reclaimed £60,000 to £70,000 worth of VAT all told in that 10-year period. Final slide, please, and I think it's down to questions. So, in summary, before you look at this, there has to be a significant driver for the club. Be it buying new premises or your own premises, and you're facing big bills in terms of tax and business rates, or there's a benefit on rent from a parish council, a church, or whatever you're renting your session premises from. But you need a good accountant to advise. Now, the interesting thing is many accountants play bridge. So you'll always find good accountants in your organisation somewhere. So there is always the opportunity to do gift aid on membership. You can do that without becoming a CIO, but it's probably not worth it if your membership isn't a substantial amount of money. If your membership is £2.50, it's not worth the admin. If it's 20 quid, it's worth the admin. If none of these drivers apply, then charitable incorporated organisation status is not for you. But if they do apply, the benefits can be significant. Thank you, John. I'll take questions.
Can I raise a question, Jonathan?
Yeah, let me just stop
Only
the
share
share.
the screen.
Yeah, let me just stop the share so I can. And just for people who who came slightly late. That the speaker is Anthea Byrne, who's done, as you heard, all the work for County Bridge Club in Leicester. So, right. So now I can actually see everyone. Who was saying they had a question?
Mike.
Okay. Right. So Mike, if you want to go first, and then we'll come to Alan.
Okay, that's fine. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Anthea, because earlier this year I contacted her from Castle Morpeth when we were about to apply, and she sent me a lot of very useful information. And the form,
Nice to meet you.
Hi. The form is quite daunting, and it's an awful lot easier if you've got someone else's in front of you. So we followed that form pretty closely, and we're into our application, which incidentally takes a lot longer now than they say on the website, 3 months minimum. We had a reply after 9 months saying that they needed more information on the public benefit. And that does seem to be one area that they're perhaps tightening up on, because we did keep quite close to Anthea's, but there was a scope on the form for attaching an additional document which shows how the organisation provide benefits. And we didn't do that because it seemed to be an overlap on what had already been said, but it looks as if you've got to tick all the boxes. Right at the beginning on slide 2, Anthea said that the EBU constitution was recognised as a governing body. It may be, but it's not on the list. So, I mean, back in March anyway, you couldn't tick the box on the form which said you were using an approved document.
Oh, right.
So
That's a change.
And Anthea, of course, is speaking for a large club. We're a small club. We are just over 100 members. We rent a hall, but the rent actually is the largest part, and we get 25%. Well, it's now 20. It was 25%. So that's what makes it worthwhile having a charity membership. We were previously a charitable unincorporated body, which enabled us, which is registered with HMRC, and that gave us gift aid on the hall. But this year, our town council, in their wisdom, decided that they would only give that discount to members of the Charity Commission. So we've had to go through the hoop again. Anyway, thank you.
Glad it's working out for you. Interestingly, when we did our application, we were told 90 days. It could be longer, and we heard back in a week.
All right, very good.
So that was 2018, pre-COVID.
Yeah, it's a bit slower now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mike. Let's go to Alan, and then we'll go to Tim.
Good morning. Anthea, we own premises. We're a fairly small club, 120 members. We get a small business rate relief, so don't pay business rates. Would that have any effect if we wanted to be go to CIO route?
You'd still be. We had small business rate relief in the previous club because the amount of space we had was small enough. I don't think that would change if you went to a CIO.
Right.
But might just choose to say you could have the 80% instead. So I think you need to do a bit of maths there and ask the question of your council before you go CIO.
Uh-huh.
There has to be a significant driver for doing the paperwork. As Mike said, it's a reduction in his rent, which makes it worthwhile for him to be a charitable incorporated organisation.
Yes, yeah.
If you don't need to be, it's a lot of paperwork. So if you're happy staying as a small business,
Okay.
stay as a small business.
Uh-huh. Okay, thank you.
Unless you're paying tax and you want to avoid a tax bill.
Well, we pay corporation tax, but we don't pay a significant amount. And I'm surprised to see that you save 2K in your corporation tax.
Yeah, that's because we had two rental properties above that pulled in £10,000 a year in
Right,
addition
okay.
to the club activities.
We
So
have
had that residential rent that put us over the limits.
Yeah, we have organisations that rent rooms from us, but we also have a space on the top floor of the building, which we've often toyed about converting to a flat. but the driver for not doing that was the increase in corporation tax. But if we converted that flat and moved to a CIO, it could be beneficial.
It could, yes, because it gives you that. You're talking £8,000 plus a year.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Depending on the size of the flat. If you look at
Yes.
rental rates now,
Yes.
now okay, there's costs in terms of gas certification, electrical certification, making sure you've got a fire escape, this sort of thing.
Yes.
So you need some.
Yeah, we need to do some structural changes, but we've looked at all that, but we've not gone down that route because of the increase in the corporation tax.
I would. That's a big driver. I would look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alan. So we'll go. Tim's got his hand up, and then we'll go to Tim, and then Philip and Angela have also got their hands up. So we'll go to Tim first, and then we will. Yeah. So Tim.
Again, thank you so much for that presentation. That was really illuminating. I had a question about gift aid. Now, my understanding on gift aid is that with some ifs and buts, the person donating should not get a personal benefit from what they're donating. So I just wondered how that affects membership fees, and also how it affects table money. I mean, many clubs have a decision, maybe higher membership, lower table money, or vice versa. So can you, and what about if the club had a function, a party, say, for its members, and they had to pay something to attend? I mean, that presumably would not be gift aid. Can you just clarify when and gift aid applies and when it doesn't?
So if you look at the paperwork, and we're talking the WADGs, this is the printed u.gov gift aid chapter circa 2019. The thing about defining membership as something that you can gift aid is whether or not people get a benefit from their membership, or it's just the price of being part of the club. Now, because we don't give people a specific membership, a specific benefit from membership, apart from a newsletter, then they are not deemed to be getting something in response to their membership. Therefore, you can gift aid. It's classed as a donation. Table money, because they attend a session to do table money, and they are experiencing a service. At that point, you're running a session for them in a competitive way. They cannot be gift aided because they've got a benefit from it. So that's the difference, the definition. Do they get a benefit? If it's yes, you can't gift aid it. So table money, parties, that sort of thing, no. If they don't get a benefit, then you can gift aid it. But for membership, you have to have name and address of every individual person and a declaration from every individual person. Whereas if they gave a donation, so just cash into a pat, then that runs under small value gifts, and you can gift aid that without knowing who gave it. So that covers the church collection, the street collections that various organisations do. So you can gift aid, say, the take of a raffle on a organisation event if you're doing a charity fundraising event, but not the ticket sales. Because for the ticket sales, you get to attend the event, but for the raffle, it's, say, keep your ticket price low and tell everybody they've got to buy a raffle ticket, and you can gift aid your raffle donation. So it's all about reading the detail, but in there it specifically allows you to gift aid membership subscriptions as long as they don't get a specific benefit for them that isn't that is of value.
So, Anthea, where a club has a lower rate of table money for members, would that count as a tangible benefit?
No. If you mean the difference between visitors,
yeah,
money
visitors and members
table money, no.
Okay.
I've not seen anything that says that.
Okay.
There is specific definitions for membership
Yeah.
that you have to comply with. As long as you do that, you're fine.
Okay, thank you. Right, let's go to Philip, and then we'll go to Angela.
Relatively simple question, but I suspect it'd be difficult to answer. Obviously, an awful lot more work to be done. Have you got any estimate of how many days or hours per week or days per year extra you're having to do in order to implement this and run it?
Because when I became treasurer of the club, this was the project I came in to do on the committee. Because I said to them, look, you've got an opportunity here of saving a lot of money. I don't have the experience of running it as an unincorporated club. So they used to do their numbers as long as there was cash in the bank, and they had a lot of cash in the bank as a unincorporated members club, because they were doing a building fund, expecting to have to build their own premises somewhere. And they did look at buying pieces of land and getting architects to draw drawings to build their own premises. But they never had enough money for that. And they all said they thought they'd go bust before they finished it. So I don't really have a feeling for that. At year end, when you're doing accounts, it is I've just done my set here because it's my year end at the moment. As I fumble on my desk, it's a proper set of formal accounts with prior year audited, and once you get past the balance sheet, lots of notes to the accounts to fulfil what. So without an accountant, this is dead duck. I would say you're probably looking at 3, 4, maybe 5 times as much time. Doing a standard club where you're not reporting to any authorities. Remember, the Charity Commission is the same people that the big Cancer UK, those sort of charities, the rules apply to them as much as to us. So you're very much stepping up into companies' law to do this. But £250,000 worth of saving was what drove County Bridge Club to do this, and having people with an house to do it. If it's small, unless there's a big driver, no, not worth it. But it can be big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you.
Your club, what are you?
We're Basingstoke. We own our own premises at the minute. And we've been looking at moving to try to find somewhere that's a bit larger. We don't have an immediate driver, even though we do own our own premises, with business rates, because we act as a polling station on polling days, and therefore we get zero. We pay zero business or zero council tax. But if we were to sell and buy and move, then it's obviously something that we would look at doing.
A really, really big thing, especially if you're in a position, which we were. We kept our old premises for a year while we did the renovations in the new place, because we had to knock some walls down to make a bigger room. We had to put adult toilets in because it was a nursery, and the toddler toilets you could see over the partitions, so it just wasn't fit for purpose. So we did 4 months worth of renovations before we started moving activities across. Mm-hmm. And the fact that all those renovations had VAT on them as well also was a driver. So if you're buying some property from somewhere like Homes England, where they're going to put VAT on the price, then it becomes a no-brainer. But you've got a lead time in doing this. We managed from winning the tender for the property, did the charity application, bought the property, all in a space of 3 months.
Wow.
So if you talk to the first gentleman, he hasn't got his charitable status yet.
Yes. And just going back to gift aid is that applicable even though you're not a charitable organisation? Could that apply to just a standard members club?
I believe it can. There is a small organisation gift aid category where you can just do gift aid for membership.
Okay.
Qualifying charitable donations. gift aid donations. Yeah, you have to get into the detail. I think small clubs can gift aid their membership.
Thank you.
If I can just comment, that's what we were before. We were a charitable unincorporated body, a CUB, but we still had to register with HMRC, and the form was almost as lengthy as one to Charity Commission. And I'm not sure that route is available now, because we did it 7 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Angela.
I'd like to follow up on the gift aid on membership fees. That was my main question. We've taken advice and have been told that because table money is discounted for members, we don't get gift aid relief. And having looked at the legislation and followed the links on the EBU website, it seems to me that you can't claim gift aid on membership donations unless the only benefits are visiting premises, that's like for National Trust, or getting newsletters. And so it doesn't say what benefits are. So those are the only two exemptions that you can get as benefits without losing your entitlement to gift aid. So I don't think we can have gift aid on membership fees, and I'd be very glad to hear something to the contrary.
We don't actually charge visitors fees.
Ah, that's why.
So it doesn't apply to our, and quite frankly, the amount that you claim in visitors fees is minuscule in comparison to what you get back on gift aid.
So in that case, what is the reason for people to be a member if there is no benefit? Why would you pay a membership fee if there is no reason to be a member?
Well, see, we used to charge them pre-COVID in the past. There was visitors fees as such. But we have a loyal group of people, and they recognise the quality of the premises, and they wish to join it as a club. We don't.
Okay.
The financial driver doesn't appear to be of any interest to our members whatsoever. Quite frankly, they're not bothered.
Thank you. I think that might go back to committee with that.
Well, potentially you could say that people can only play up to 3 times without becoming a member. I mean, that way there's no financial benefit, but it would encourage people to join.
Right. But then you mentioned parties. So we would have to be sure that we don't subsidise social events for members.
Well, as long as you're covering it, I mean, we aim to run our parties at cost, so there's no subsidy. We just aim for it to break even.
Right. So yeah, I agree with that. Right. Thank you.
Again, I don't fall foul of that in terms of what we are doing, but certainly recently, because we have some small bridge clubs in the local area who don't have their own premises, we have, as part of our charitable furtherance of the game of bridge, offered them a price per person to use the premises. So it's not your rent is 50 quid, it's you pay us £1 for every person you've had play in your session, so that we can encourage them to go back to face-to-face bridge, because a lot of them have struggled with numbers. And we've done that now for 3 clubs. So we've actually advertised in one session as CBC and Westcoats, no visitors fees, either club can come and attend, and we are getting 8 tables there. If we split them, and it was 2 different clubs, it'd be two sessions of 4 tables, which is not really ideal in terms of competitive bridge. And we've been running that now since COVID. They used to be able to get 10 tables. They can't do that now, they're at 4.
Right.
So the impact of COVID on how we have sought to maintain the smaller clubs in the area while still, because again, we're driving on, we've got more money, we've got the premises. So we're currently loss making at the moment because we are doing that support for bridge locally. And that way, that's why we don't pay visitors fees at the moment, because it's a case of how do we encourage people back to face-to-face bridge? There are a lot of people who are still wedded to online bridge because they don't have to go out in the evenings. And if we don't change that somehow, we face losing our bridge clubs. So we actually have some of the more senior players in the club looking to see who are non-playing, long-standing club members and inviting them in almost like a host to come to a session, come back and try bridge again, come back and see how the premises work and what the place is like, as we try and tempt them back out of. And the other thing we're doing is more and more daytime sessions. Less in the evening, more in the day. And that's more about getting people back out of their houses, back into face-to-face bridge. And yeah, we've got a list. When we didn't do membership in the 2 years of COVID, but when we did the first membership strike afterwards, we lost about 60 members who then said they wouldn't be coming back to face-to-face bridge. Now we have replaced those 60 members in the last 12 months by opening different sessions. So we're now running what's called social bridge with lunch. Start at 11 o'clock in the morning, play 2 rounds, stop and have a plated lunch, and then play another 3 rounds. They're only doing 21 boards, and there's a break in the middle for lunch. And it's introducing students to what is a duplicate session, but it's got people there, the directors, who will come and help you. If I don't know how to bid this hand, put your hand up, somebody will come and help. So it's more, it's not a competitive duplicate session. So what we're finding is we're getting the older players who don't think they can do a full 3-hour duplicate session, and we're getting the students in, and we're getting people who only want to play for the better term kitchen sink bridge, not competitive bridge. We're getting a lot of returning players who don't really know enough for a full duplicate session, but this is their gateway into, right, now you've got your confidence back, how about trying the Friday session or the Monday session? And it's slowly working. We are still running BBO sessions as a club because we recognise a number of our players would not be able to attend the club to play. So to be inclusive, we are still running a Monday afternoon session for them. So we take the view of charity status means something. So you have to adapt what you're doing to include those who can't attend the club and to support other bridge clubs. We are also a teaching club, so we run a bursary for anybody who wants to learn and can't afford the lessons, which I've got to say are not at a commercial rate anyway. They are, I think we pay £6 a lesson at the moment is the charge. So we're very much trying to keep bridge relevant post-COVID. This is the new normal. So yeah, think about not charging visitors fees.
Will do. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Anthea, and some very encouraging about getting more people back playing face to face. Right, do we have any more questions? Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up. So I just say thank you again to Anthea for sharing all her knowledge on this topic. I think that's been very useful. All right, we'll leave it there. But thank you all for coming, and thanks again to Anthea.
Thanks
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.